Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Real Time, where we talk about the movies we like.
And the ones we don't.
I'm Tyler.
And I'm Molly.
Happy Halloween, everyone!
Happy Halloween! Woohoo!
And for our Halloween video this year, we're gonna go through the decades, starting with the 30s, and talking about our favorite horror movies.
Yes. Please excuse me, I am drinking coffee and eating pumpkin seeds at the same time, and I refuse to quit. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Now, a few of these may not be, 100% horror. They may have some trappings in some other genres, but that's just how it is sometimes.
Yeah, that's just how it is, man.
So, why don't you start off with your pick from the 30s?
Alright, so the 30s, this is probably an unpopular opinion, because Frankenstein came out in the 30s. And although I do love Frankenstein, I love the book better. The book was better. I love the book. So the movie Frankenstein, even though it's a classic, I don't watch it a lot. But a movie from the 30s that I do watch a lot around Halloween time is Freaks.
Yeah, that's not a bad choice.
So I went with Freaks because what I like most about it is during the time, I know it probably ain't the best to call them freaks nowadays, but they actually hired, pardon my words, but circus freaks, actual people from the circus to play these circus freaks, which I love. I just found so fascinating. And it's creepy. It is very creepy what they do to the bad guys, which, I mean, they kind of deserved it. So, but yeah, so I'm gonna have to go with Freaks for that.
Yeah, the original version of Freaks was actually heavily edited because they had some stuff in the original version that 30s audiences just didn't want to watch.
Yeah, I would like to watch that version.
Like the version that we have now is only around an hour long, which isn't too out of the ordinary for the movies back then. They weren't too long, but like in the original, just spoiler warning for all movies we're gonna talk about.
Yeah.
In the original, at the end when all the freaks are going after the
lady or the man?
the woman and the strong man. The strong man was originally supposed to be castrated, actually.
Oh boy.
Like we would have seen him at the end as like a castrato singer. Along with what happens to the woman, whatever they do to her,
They turn her into a chicken.
made her some sort of like chicken lady.
Yeah.
But yeah, this movie actually, unfortunately, stalled the career of its director, Todd Browning.
Huh?
It did
What do you
that.
mean by that?
Like he couldn't get very much work afterwards because
Oh, why? Because it was too creepy?
that
Too weird?
and they actually didn't like that he used circus freaks in the movie.
I thought it made it so much more realistic, and it gave them like actual work to do besides sitting around on a circus.
Well, people thought that he was exploiting them.
Oh, I can see why, but I don't know. I think they would probably honestly enjoyed being in a movie. That's what I would think. But whatever. I do not know.
The kid with no legs. He was actually supposed to get a movie after this.
That's really cool.
Yeah, obviously they didn't do that.
Yeah, that would have been cool though.
Yeah, he was pretty neat.
It was just so fascinating to see how these people just go about their regular lives. Like it showed that man with no limbs lighting a cigar with just his mouth, and I was like so impressed. Anyways, what is your pick from the 30s?
Well, my pick is probably a pretty standard pick, all things considered. Now, I went through a few choices for this decade. I considered Dracula, Frankenstein, The Mummy, Bride of Frankenstein, King Kong, even though it's not really horror. But the one I landed on was The Invisible Man.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Now, I haven't read the book it's based off of, but I love the character of Jack Griffin in this movie. He turns himself invisible on accident, and then he realizes, wait, I could do so much and get away with so many things while like this. And so it's just this story about this guy's descent into madness when he gets this power.
Yeah.
And I love everyone's reaction around him. They're just like, when they realize that he's invisible, they're like, nah, he can't be invisible. And then they see that he's invisible, and they're like, oh, okay. Am I crazy?
He's invisible.
He's invisible. Like, they adapt surprisingly quick to this.
Yeah.
And, James Whale, the director of this, also did Frankenstein. So he has his fingers in the horror genre pretty well.
Oh yeah, I'd say so.
Now,
two classics.
Like I said, I haven't read the book, so I don't know how accurate this is, but it's definitely something anyone should watch.
Mm-hmm. I liked it.
Claude Rains was wonderful as Griffin. Some of you may know him as Senator Payne from Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, or the 1940s remake of Phantom of the Opera.
Oh.
So, speaking of the 40s, what's your choice?
Oh man, let me just say this was hard for me. Okay, 40s is a hard one. Because you have my favorite classic monster, the Wolfman movie, which I love. And I also love Arsenic and Old Lace. It is perfect. I love it so much. However, there is a movie that I thought rose above those, and we have talked about it recently.
It's what I think it is, isn't
and
it?
it is Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein.
You want to know something?
What?
That's my pick too.
There is just something about it. It is funny. It has all the classic monsters besides the mummy.
Yeah. But what's he gonna do there?
Yeah. And it's just perfect. If you haven't seen our video on that, just go watch it. You can hear all my thoughts there. Alright, I'll let you have your piece.
Yeah, if it'd be easier, just go watch our video on this movie, since we covered it pretty well.
And we obviously have a lot to say about it.
Yeah.
It's both our favorites
So,
from the movie.
just a quick rundown. Love Bela Lugosi. Love Lon Chaney Jr. Love, Abbott and Costello in this movie. It's great. Go watch it.
There's nothing. I have no complaints.
So, the 50s.
50s? So don't get me wrong. I love Vincent Price. Anything he's in is gonna be good. However, the only bad thing is I hate myself because I haven't seen a lot of his movies. I love him, but I need to watch more of his movies. So I feel bad not going with a Vincent Price movie. Another movie I liked was The Bad Seed. It's more of a lesser known one, about this girl who kills people. But it's a nice one. However, I did go with a movie that you do not like, I know.
No.
And it is a movie that I enjoy. And that is The Blob from the 50s.
Not a fan.
I don't know why I love it so much. I laugh at it. I think it's funny. So I really enjoy watching it. And that theme song is perfect. I listen to that theme song all the time. I listen to it not even around Halloween time.
The theme song is pretty catchy.
It's a bop, yeah. It's just funny. Steve McQueen, right?
Yeah.
He's in it, and he's playing like an 18-year-old, but he looks like he's 45. It's hilarious. It's just funny, and the acting is not good, but that's why I like it so much.
Yeah, it's not really my thing. Like, there was a remake of The Blob back in the 80s. It looks really gross and disgusting. It looks like it's probably more my thing.
Yeah, that probably is more your thing. I'm all about the cheesy acting and stuff. Alright, what about you?
Now, from the 50s, this was kind of hard for me, considering... Okay, there was a lot of good horror, and there was a lot of good sci-fi horror in that decade.
Oh, yeah?
Just off the top, there's the original Godzilla, there's Them, there's Giant Tarantula, there's Giant Gila Monster, there's... and even just going with regular sci-fi, there's Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Oh, yeah.
Bad movie, but I love it. The Day the Earth Stood Still, Earth vs. the Flying Saucers, the original version of The Thing. There's a lot to choose from. And even with going with straight up horror, I'm a bit partial to Hammer, honestly. So I was really having a hard time choosing between Horror of Dracula and Curse of Frankenstein, because they're
Sorry.
calm down. They're both just so great with the performances from Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee. But I ended up going with neither of those. I went with Hammer's The Mummy.
Okay.
Now there's the 1932 version with Boris Karloff. There's the 1999 version with Brendan Fraser, and then there's the 2017 version with Tom Cruise. 2 out of 3 of those are good. But
I'll let you pick which one's the bad one.
yeah. But what elevates this Hammer version above those others is it comes down to a few things. One, the performances from Lee and Cushing. You know, I'm always a sucker for a good Christopher Lee movie or a bad Christopher Lee movie. There's a good amount of overlap between the two, and just they elevate this what could have been a schlocky B movie into something that's really great. You know, same thing happened in the 70s with Steven Spielberg and Jaws, but are we going to get to that? We'll see. But anyways, also, I really love how much tighter this story is compared to the others. You know, they find the mummy. Mummy wakes up. Mummy kills people. Egyptian priest is trying to control the mummy. Tries to make him kill a girl. Mummy doesn't like that. Kills the priest. Movie's almost over at that point. You know, it's very quick.
Yeah.
Get to everything. But it's not. It's fast paced, but it's not rushed.
Yeah.
And yeah, Christopher Lee is playing an Egyptian guy in this movie, but it was the 50s.
Yeah,
What are you gonna do?
50s.
You know, he would play several Egyptian people. He played Ramesses the Great and Ramesses the Third. Okay,
Nice.
which is pretty wild. He both played Ramesses and outlived him. Ramesses died when he was 90, and Lee died when he was 93.
Alright.
So, enough about that. Let's move to the 60s.
60s. Wow, this one was hard as well. I didn't realize there are so many movies I liked from the 60s. I would like to give credit to Black Sabbath, which is an anthology horror movie, and I love those. I also need to give credit to 2 more unknown movies, I think. Spider Baby, which I love, and if you want to see a horror movie that's not quite as well known and is weird, I would suggest Spider Baby. Lon Chaney Jr. is in it.
Yeah, he's in it, and he's
Yeah.
probably the best part in it.
I know you're not quite much of a fan of it.
I don't dislike it. It's really weird, but again, Lon Chaney Jr.
Yeah.
is the best part.
Oh, well, you're probably right. And then also Homicidal. I don't know why I said homicide. Homicidal is another lesser known one. William Castle, I believe, did that one. And then, of course, the classic Rosemary's Baby is amazing. The book is amazing as well. The movie's just like the book. But, of course, I have to go with Psycho. There's no other movie that's quite like it.
You want to know something else?
Did you go with Psycho?
I also went with
figured
Psycho.
You probably did, because Psycho is just a classic. It's done so many... Oh, excuse me, I'm so sorry. It's done so many just amazing things. It's just like, it's the horror movie.
in our most recent video, the one that's uploading right now as we speak, it's about Psycho and Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But that's and we spent a good amount of time sucking off this movie. So
It's just so good. It's so good.
now, before I go into this, I just want to mention some of my honorable
Do you
mentions.
mention those?
Night of the Living Dead, obviously, one of the first mainstream zombie movies as we know them today. It just recently got a 4K release on the Criterion Collection, and I had to absolutely fight myself not to get that. Just you can't understand. I can't understate how much of a struggle it was. The Birds, also by Hitchcock, great movie. Birds attack people. What more can you want? Rosemary's Baby, a tentative shadow. Like, I'm not quite as much of a fan of it as you are,
I love it.
but it's all right. But yeah, Psycho. gotta be the one for me.
Yeah.
And that's not even getting to any of the Hammer horror movies that were released during this decade too, or any of the wacky Godzilla movies.
Yeah.
There was quite a bit, and honestly, no, I probably wouldn't have gone with any of those for my actual pick because none of them are really scary. Although King Kong versus Godzilla is really good.
Yeah.
But we've already talked about Psycho enough on our previous video.
So go check that out if you want to hear our more deeper thoughts on Psycho.
So let's go and move into the 70s. Now, what's your choice?
70s wasn't as hard for me. I know that's kind of hard to say because they do have the classics like Halloween and The Exorcist. I went with the movie that I know you classify it as horror, but I don't really. But I know it is.
Okay.
Anyways, it's Jaws. I went with Jaws. Because I just really like that movie. It's a good story. It holds my attention. I like all the behind the scenes things that happen with the shark. It just really, I just really like it. So yeah, I went with Jaws, and we have a video on Jaws as well, so I don't have to spend too much time talking about Jaws.
Yeah, we have a 40-minute video on just me talking about how much I love the movie Jaws.
Yeah, and just me going, yep, because you just kept on talking.
Now, with that being said, you would expect me to have this as my pick for the 70s, wouldn't you?
I would think so, yes.
And it is, but
Oh.
I'm not going to talk about it here because, as we said before, we've already talked about it a good amount of time.
Oh, it's been a lot of time, yeah.
So I decided to go with my second pick, Halloween. Now, before I get into Halloween, I just want to mention some of my picks that almost made the list. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Alien, The Exorcist. All great movies. I love them. Oh, Black Christmas, of course.
Is that the one we watched recently?
Yeah, well,
Last Christmas.
Last Christmas.
Yeah, it was
But yeah,
good.
Black Christmas. I haven't seen any of the remakes of that one, so. But anyways, Halloween, the movie that came after Psycho, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and Black Christmas, that really popularized the slasher genre. You know, made Michael Myers a household name pretty much, and also gave John Carpenter the boost he needed to get into the mainstream. You know, there's so much I could say about this movie, so we'll save that for the inevitable review. But
Yeah.
tying back into Hammer, Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee were both approached for the role of Dr. Loomis in this movie.
That's very interesting.
Now, Cushing, he had just recently appeared in a small little independent movie. You might have heard of it, called Star Wars. So he was a bit expensive
Yeah.
for this. I think maybe $1 million budget horror movie. It was either around 600,000 or $1 million.
Wow.
Yeah, this movie had no budget. Jamie Lee Curtis had to bring her own clothes.
Oh my.
And she was actually the one actor as a teenager who, was actually close to being a teenager.
How old was she?
Like 20.
Oh, yeah.
Now, Jamie Lee Curtis, as most of you may know, is the daughter of Janet Leigh from Psycho.
Yeah.
Oh, anyways, back to Christopher Lee. He was also approached for Dr. Loomis, but he turned it down. He later said that he regretted doing that.
Yeah, I would regret doing that.
Now, Jamie Lee Curtis, daughter of Janet Leigh, they also took the name Sam Loomis from Psycho for the Doctor in this movie, played by Donald Pleasance. Now, Donald Pleasance is great in this role, no doubt about that. I can't really see anyone in this role, but I would have liked to imagine Christopher Lee or not Vincent Price, Peter Cushing. Although Vincent Price would have been cool too.
Yeah, I'd take that.
So that's enough for now about
So-
Halloween. I'm already going on a few tangents. Let's go to the 80s. Now, this one was a very particularly hard decade for me to choose from.
Don't I go first?
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying it was
You're
hard.
just saying it's hard. For me, not so much. Because I do love The Shining, but I'm one of those people, the book was much better, so I'd rather sit and read the book than watch the movie.
Nerd.
I know. I did have Labyrinth on my list, and I would have chose it, but I ended up thinking, nah, it's probably not horror, and I crossed it out. So, I also really enjoy Killer Clowns from Outer Space because it is hilarious. And like I said, I love that cheesy stuff.
Yeah.
But I ended up going with a movie that I like to watch around Christmas. And I'm sure you can guess what it is. It is Gremlins. I just love little Gizmo. He's so cute. I'm all about that cutesy stuff. And I just love the Gremlins and their antics. It's just a nice movie.
They're really fun.
Yeah, they go crazy. It's a classic. I'm sure you all are all familiar with the Gremlins, so.
We may have to do this come Christmas time.
Yeah, I totally will. I love it.
Now, my pick for the 80s, like I said, this is very difficult for me. There are so many amazing movies that came out in this decade. And we're just talking horror.
Yeah.
So, let's go through this honorable mentions list.
All right,
We got
strap in.
Predator, Aliens, Evil Dead 2, Nightmare on Elm Street, a good amount of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, a good amount of the Friday the 13th movies, Halloween 4, Day of the Dead. So many to choose from. And that's not even getting into horror comedy like Gremlins or Ghostbusters.
I tried to catch it.
Oh, jeez, our cat's weird. But I ended up going with The Thing. My second John Carpenter pick in a row.
Nice.
Now, The Thing is really, the thing about The Thing is, I love the isolation in it. I love how these guys are out in the middle of nowhere. No one can help them. And right from the beginning, with the Norwegians in the helicopter shooting at the dog, it sets up a pretty good mystery. And upon rewatch, when you realize how the Thing takes over human hosts,
Yeah.
that scene with the dog, it takes on a darker light. But as you guys probably know, The Thing is in my top 10 favorite movies of all time. So, yeah, it's something that I really love. For more detail on my thoughts on that, check out that video. But all I gotta say is, The Thing is amazing. I love Kurt Russell in it and Keith David. They're absolutely perfect, so go check out The Thing.
Yep. Moving on?
Moving on to the 90s.
90s was hard as well because we have the more cutesy movies like Halloween Town and The Addams Family, which I both love. And then you have Stephen King's It and Silence of the Lambs and another one from Stephen King, Misery. But I actually went with Scream for this one. I liked it ever since you showed me Scream. I've only seen the first Scream and the most recent Scream. But I just really enjoyed the twist. I had no idea that there would be two killers. So that was a nice twist. I love movies that can make me go, oh my, what a twist. So I did like that. I liked Scream a lot more than what I thought I would because I'm usually not into the slasher movies, but this one had more of like a mystery to it, and so I think that's why I liked it so much. What about you?
Now, 90s was... Again, this is kind of hard for me because there's a lot of great stuff that came in the 90s. Bram Stoker's Dracula, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, Army of Darkness, Scream, Misery.
I'm so sorry, I'm choking on pumpkin seed.
Now, of those, Army of Darkness was the closest to actually being my pick. I love the Evil Dead movies, and it sucks that I didn't choose any of the previous two for the 80s. But for the 90s, I went a little bougie, and I just went with Silence of the Lambs.
Nice.
Yes, I mean, I really like this whole story of this FBI agent Clarice Starling, played by Jodie Foster, trying to make it in this man-dominated world, and the only person that gives her any sort of respect is the cannibal serial killer.
Yeah, I mean, it's really good. It did win the Oscar that year, right?
Yeah, like 5. It won Best Picture, Director, Screenplay, lead actor for Anthony Hopkins, which is wild since he's only in like 20 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, I would not call him a lead actor.
And lead actress for Jodie Foster.
Yeah, and it's good. It did deserve those awards, I believe.
Yeah, Hopkins would later play Hannibal 2 more times in Hannibal and Red Dragon. Red Dragon's a prequel to Silence of the Lambs. It takes place a little bit before that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he's great in every single one, and he actually got more screen time as the movies went on because of how popular he was.
Oh yeah, yeah. When you think Hannibal Lecter, well, I think Anthony Hopkins.
Anthony Hopkins or Mads Mikkelsen, because honestly, he was great on that Hannibal TV show.
I didn't watch that.
Oh, it's great. You should watch it. Well,
Alright.
it's probably not your thing, but
Probably not. You ready to keep moving on?
yeah, because
All right. So the thousands.
the 2000s.
2000s. I googled thousands movies to watch, and it gave me 1900 movies, and I was like, crap, I need to change my Google search.
Need
So
a
I
little
gotta be
bit more
specific.
direct.
2000 to 2009. Anyways, I do love Coraline, and I also love the book, obviously.
Yeah.
And I do love Shaun of the Dead, but I do really love Shaun of the Dead. Maybe I'm changing my mind, but no, I love Shaun of the Dead. But when I think horror movie, when I want to watch something around Halloween time that really gets me in the mood, I'm gonna go with Trick or Treat. Was that yours?
No.
Okay, I was just wondering.
I almost went with that.
Because I know you really like it. But just the whole, like, there's different stories happening, and they all somewhat connect. You know, usually see the same characters in the background doing stuff like that, which I loved. I loved how just creative it is, and it just really gives me those Halloween vibes. It really puts me in the mood for Halloween time, and I just love it. I love Halloween.
Yeah, you dressed as Sam for Halloween this year.
Oh, I did, yes.
You dressed as Sam, and I dressed as Ghostface from Scream.
We were Halloween movie characters. Yeah, so what about you? Your thousands pick.
Now, like I said, I very nearly picked Trick or Treat.
Mm-hmm.
But I decided to, and I also considered Shaun of the Dead. I did.
Yeah.
But it was a little bit light on the horror and more heavy on the comedy aspect.
Yeah.
Which isn't a bad thing. It's a very funny movie.
Yeah, I love it. I almost picked it, yeah.
But for the purposes of this list, I mean, I say that, but I picked. We both picked Abbott and Costello, me, Frankenstein for the 40s.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyways, but I decided to go with a movie that's very dear to me. I chose American Psycho.
Of course.
Yeah, I just love this. I love the character of Patrick Bateman. He's just such a evil guy, you know?
Yeah.
He thinks he's murdering people, but is he?
I have no idea, man.
Maybe not. I don't know. And I love how the world around him just basically lets him get away with it in his mind.
Yeah.
And, pumpkin seeds.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, and like we said before, this is one of my favorite movies. It's in my top 5. So that should tell you something. That it should tell you that there's more details in our top 10 favorites list. So better to check that out.
Yeah, maybe we'll watch that one.
But yeah, great movie, and don't watch the sequel. It's terrible.
Oh yeah, I was about to say I didn't watch it, but yeah, I did watch it with you. So bad I forgot I watched it.
Yeah, go. If you want more details on that, check out our video on that. I got a little upset. I got really upset because it's so awful. Now, 2010s.
Alright, so this one is kind of hard too because we have It Again, the new It's coming out. Split. I liked Split a lot. For, I can't think of that director's name. But.
M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah. I liked it. And then they also had the Jordan Peele coming out with his horror movies like Us and Get Out. But I actually, for this one, went with The Cabin in the Woods, which we haven't watched yet, and it's almost Halloween.
Yeah.
So we need to watch it at some point, which I can also watch it any time of the year, really. But I just thought it was so different for a horror movie. You think it's going to be like the average horror movie, people going into a cabin and dying, but there's so much more going on.
Yeah, there's a secret
crazy.
underground like society of people who are they need to kill people to keep this demon or whatever from coming in and destroying everyone.
Yeah, so they like trick people into coming into the cabin, and then they let the people choose how they die by which monster, and these people working take bets on it, which I find hilarious. But yeah, so it's just so cool. It's a really nice movie.
I really love at the end when the two surviving people unleash all of the monsters from their cages to kill all the guards.
Scene. That scene is so cool. All right, what about you?
My pick. This was a little easier compared to other decades, but having said that, it was still kind of hard because, yeah, both It movies, Us, Get Out, all wonderful movies that would be worthy choices. But one movie that was never considered, would never be considered, was Hereditary.
We both hate it.
We can't stand that movie.
I know that a lot of people love it, but me and Tyler
We don't.
hate it. I hate it.
I don't understand. What is with this movie?
It's weird. It does not entertain me at all. I have no emotions watching it.
Like, not being entertained by a movie is one thing, you know. Some movies just, the subject matter is kind of dark, so you can't say you were entertained by that. Like, have you ever watched Schindler's List and said, yeah, that was a fun time. That was entertaining.
Well, entertainment doesn't just mean fun. It holds your attention. You watch it.
You know what I'm saying, though?
Yeah.
Like, you can't say you had a fun time while watching Schindler's List.
No.
But
you can still be entertained.
But this movie, I hate all of these people.
Yeah.
Especially the mom. Although it did have a pretty cool kill with the little girl getting decapitated by the telephone pole.
That was probably my favorite part.
God, what's wrong with us? But I went with A Quiet Place.
Oh, that's a good one too. I didn't even put that down. I forgot about that one.
Now, A Quiet Place is, I believe, it was the first movie directed by John Krasinski.
I think so.
Well, it's the first most well-known one. You know, it stars him and his wife Emily Blunt as his family, who have to survive in a world with complete silence, and they have to because there's these aliens that came down that attack people based on hearing. And I really love the family dynamics of this group. You know, the daughter is deaf, so they already knew sign language, so they were a step ahead of a lot of people. And so, and the daughter thinks that she was responsible for the death of the one of their sons before, when in reality it's just because he's a little kid. Little kids are
dumb.
Yeah, he didn't really grasp the gravity of the situation. And both the dad and the mom, they're blaming themselves for his death too. So
yeah.
And then there's the other son who's just like, I didn't do it. I know I didn't do it.
Yeah.
But it's like these three people who are just constantly feeling guilt over the death of this other son, and the mom is pregnant too, which a lot of people have criticized that aspect of the movie. Like, why did they decide to have another kid?
In the sequel, well, I guess it's a prequel. No.
Quiet
Didn't
Place
they
2?
explain in the sequel? Didn't they kind of explain that she was already pregnant before the thing started?
I don't know.
That's what I thought, but maybe I'm just making it up in my mind.
I mean, I don't know, but either way.
Anyway, you're gonna have sex.
Yeah.
Even if it's a dangerous time, I'm still having sex.
Anyways. Mistakes happen, Maybe you don't pull out in time or whatever. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah, she probably can't get her birth control in a world that is now an apocalypse situation. Yeah. So, and there's also people saying, like, what happens if you fart? What happens if you burp? Stuff like that. I don't think the aliens are going to be too worried about farting. Oh, they might be attracted to my farts.
Maybe. Your farts shake the house. Or, like, that's like, sort of like just like background noise.
Yeah.
You know, but whatever.
Whatever.
Point is, this movie's great, and all of you should watch it.
Yeah.
The sequel is good. It's not as good as the first one, but it's still good.
Yeah.
You know, it's got Cillian Murphy in it, and I love that. I love that guy. But yeah, those were our picks for every decade from the 30s to the 2010s. We don't really have a choice for the 2020s, but it's only 2022, people.
Yeah, I cannot tell you any horror movies that came out this year.
Yeah,
or the last few years.
The latest Scream.
Oh.
And A Quiet Place 2 was last year.
I probably wouldn't choose those. I'm still waiting to see what comes out.
Yeah.
We'll update it later.
Maybe at the we'll update this in 2030.
Yeah.
If this channel's still around by then. Who knows?
All right.
We'll still be making videos even if we still stick with 14 subscribers.
All right. Well,
so that will do it for us today.
See you next time.
Later.
Happy Halloween.